Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Xiaolin Perspectives, and today we're going to be discussing episode 6 of Xiaolin Showdown, Chameleon. And in this episode, well, we got a chameleon. What's going on is that Jack Spicer, while idling his time between episodes, has managed to create a new robot, in this case, a chameleon bot, which has the ability to copy the appearance, voices, and mannerisms of anybody that Jack programs into it. And like, for example, when Wuya calls Jack out for working on the robot and giving himself theme music, he has it programmed to look like Wuya, then a monk, then some random guy, and then finally Kimiko, which is where the plot of the episode comes in, as the pre-programmed Kimiko was deliberate, as Jack and Wuya plan to use the chameleon bot to sneak into the Xiaolin temple and essentially have the bot steal all the Shengang Wu. In the meantime, with the Xiaolin monks, they are training in honing with what Master Feng calls the instincts of a tiger, which might be a real thing in Kung Fu, but don't quote me on that. I'm not good with Kung Fu stuff. Point is, it's supposed to be a technique wherein you're able to study your opponent so well that you can actually predict their movements and figure out what they're going to do next. And to try and demonstrate and hone that, Master Feng is doing what is supposed to be a Xiaolin surprise tournament, where basically the participants take a Shengang Wu and then use it against their opponent, and it's their opponent's job to counter them. And Omi, well, wipes the floor with everybody, as he is able to grab the appropriate Shengang Wu for each of them, except for Raimundo. Raimundo gets his ass kicked once, and then when he wants to go for a rematch, he grabs the Tangled Webcomb, and because he's furious, because Omi beat him, he's not focused, so the Tangled Webcomb comes back around on him. So, whatever. Either way, once the practice is over, Omi is declared the winner of this little pseudo-tournament, while the Shengang Wu are all put back in the vault so they can, be kept safe. But afterwards, Omi and Kimiko are just kind of looking on her phone and looking at pictures that they both took where they made funny faces. However, during all this, Kimiko's, notepad, I think it's a notepad. I'm going to call it a notepad. Ends up freaking out and switches to a video of what looks like Raimundo dancing, which it turns out is a virus that Raimundo wound up sending to Kimiko that she hasn't been able to get rid of. However, as she attempts to try and isolate the virus, she ends up getting a message from a secret admirer who wishes to see her at the Shengang Wu vault, which Kimiko immediately assumes is just Raimundo playing another prank, but she decides to go anyway, at least to give Raimundo a piece of her mind. And, sure enough, once she gets to the vault, she hears Jack's theme music playing as Jack and the chameleon bot show up. Of course, the chameleon bot's already impersonating Kimiko, and Kimiko tries getting rid of her robotic doppelganger, but the thing is, she's a human. This thing's a robot. Unfortunately, she's not able to match her very well, and any hits that she does get hurt like hell for her. And as a result, she ends up working herself out, and the robot manages to knock her out, allowing Jack to just swoop in and take her before flying away, leaving the chameleon bot to take her place. As such, the chameleon bot manages to meet back up with the rest of the group, and, one big difference between the chameleon bot Kimiko and the real one, the robot's actually a lot more perky, as Jack puts it, as she's more friendly, complimenting everyone, has a more high-pitched voice. She pretty much just acting all gosh darn friendly, even saying that Raimundo looks nifty today, which Raimundo finds a little weird. Actually, all the Xiaolin monks find her attitude really weird. It's just that for whatever reason that I don't understand, Omi is the only one that picks up that this is not right, and that something is clearly off with Kimiko, while Raimundo and Clay just assume that Kimiko is just being weird and just kind of leave it be. It's dumb. However, as such, the chameleon bot continues trying to find the Shengang Wu vault, as at first it attempts to try and get everyone to get the Shengang Wu out for training, before she's reminded that they can't actually bring the Shengang Wu out unless Master Feng approves it. And as such, she decides to start searching the grounds for the Shengang Wu, with Jack looking through the chameleon bot's eyes, while the real Kimiko is locked in an electrified birdcage in Jack's hideout, with Jack telling her that she can't send out any messages for help because there's an electric field around his house that blocks all outgoing signals. So, while she still has her notepad, she can't send anything out. Although Kimiko doesn't really seem fazed by this, as she's just playing around on it. However, in the middle of Jack gloating to Kimiko about their inevitable victory, Wuya reacts as a new Shengang Wu reveals itself. In this case, a helmet called the Helmet of Zhong, which, according to what everyone says in the episode, is supposed to be able to give whoever wears it the ability to have eyes in the back of their head. I don't really know how this works in practice. I'm assuming what happens is that if you put the helmet on your head and then move it around, wherever the eye holes are on the helmet is where you can see. Again, presumably. Again, because the thing is, they never really get to use the Helmet of Zhong in series proper. It mostly is just there to act as a MacGuffin for another character, which we'll talk about later. But point is, but either way, it's still a Shengung Wu. As such, Jack and Wuya go out, and while Kimiko scoffs at Jack saying that they'll be able to get this next Wu, Jack reminds her that the Chameleon Bot is secretly on his side, and the Chameleon Bot will try and shift the tide in Jack's favor. And so, sure enough, the Shaolin monks, plus the Chameleon Bot disguised as Kimiko, end up going to where the Helmet of Zhong is, and while they do find it first, Jack arrives on the scene, and so, well, Jack and the Chameleon Bot Kimiko manage to reach the helmet, resulting in Jack challenging the robot to a Shaolin showdown, with him wagering the changing chopsticks, and the Robo Kimiko wagering the third arm sash. The challenge, it's just literally whoever can get the helmet first wins. So, it's a Shaolin showdown, with Jack, which again has some really cool effects. The statues rise out of the ground. We got a nice mist and clouds around the area. It's cool. I dig it. And as such, Jack and the robot end up racing. And while the robot does put up a good fight, because Jack told it to make it look good, well, the robot ends up flubbing at the finish line, as while it does reach the Helmet of Zhong first, before the robot can claim it, it fakes a fall and falls off into the clouds, allowing Jack to claim victory, as well as the third arm sash. As such, the rest of the Shaolin monks call Kimiko out and say, "How could you do that? The helmet was right there. You almost won." But the Robo Kimiko just says, "Whoops, I tripped. My bad." And yeah, everyone else just writes this off, but Omi takes this as further confirmation that something is seriously wrong with Kimiko. And so when everyone returns back to the temple and are just kind of hunkering down for the evening, Omi still has his mind on everything, though Raimundo and Clay just think that his tiger instincts are off. As such, Omi just kind of scoffs at them and goes off as he wants to meet with Kimiko, and sure enough, he does see the Robo Kimiko skulking around the temple grounds. As such, he manages to follow her from a distance, and, well, she eventually makes her way to the Shengung Wu vault, with Omi following in after. However, when he goes inside to confront Kimiko, he instead finds what he thinks is Master Feng, who is surprised to see Omi. And when Omi makes clear that he suspects that something's up with Kimiko, Master Feng just kind of writes it off and tells him, "All I see right here is a monk who needs some sleep. Go back to your quarters." And Omi does so. Only once Omi's gone, the Master Feng we see here transforms back into the Robo Kimiko. Again, Chameleon Bot, which Omi ends up realizing he's been had very shortly after. Is on the way back to his quarters. He finds the real Master Feng having tea. As such, he ends up getting Raimundo and Clay, and the three of them end up rushing back to the temple as they find the Chameleon Bot stealing the Shengung Wu. As well, she didn't need to use a combination to enter the vault, because she's a robot. She's got super strength. Literally, all she had to do was punch the entrance to the vault, and the steps just went down on their own. So, yeah, it confirms that Omi was not full of it. As such, the three Shaolin dragons in training end up duking out with the Chameleon Bot, who tries using the Shengung Wu against them, but again, Omi's tiger instincts are allowing him to counter her at every point. Unfortunately for our heroes, well, the bad guys decided to take advantage of this opportunity. For you see, while the Chameleon Bot was going through the vault and minding its own business, Jack and Wuya decided that they were going to try and take advantage of this and go and, well, pick up the Wu from their mole. As such, they wound up leaving Kimiko alone, and as such, Kimiko managed to take advantage of this by messing with her notepad again, and, well, it turns out the reason why she was constantly messing with it, she was trying to isolate Raimundo's virus. And the thing is, while Jack's electromagnetic whatsits is keeping her from sending out a message for help, it doesn't mean she can't send a signal to anything inside the lab. And so sure enough, she ends up transmitting Raimundo's virus right to one of Jack's computers, and it causes the electric barrier on her cage to short out, allowing her to escape. As such, she manages to grab one of Jack's rides and just hoofs it right back to the temple, while in the meantime the Shaolin monks are still duking it out with the Chameleon Bot. But again, while this is happening, Jack manages to sneak in using the changing chopsticks, and, well, he just goes down to the vault and grabs any Shengung Wu that he can find, including ones that Omi and Co. throw back down there when they get them back from the Chameleon Bot. So yeah, Jack's kind of winning. And unfortunately for the monks, they almost lose the fight with the chameleon bot. As well, they did put up a good fight. The robot is just too flexible. It's got multiple arms, it can change its shape too well, and as a result, it almost manages to wipe the floor with all of them before Kimiko comes flying right in on Jack's hovercraft, and she manages, resulting in her slamming into the chameleon bot and throwing them both into a wall. As such, when Kimiko and the chameleon bot come out of the rubble, both try to claim that they're the real Kimiko and the other one's a fake. And so as they're duking it out, Raimundo and Clay look to Omi and to figure out which one's the real Kimiko, because, well, he's mastered the whole Tiger Instincts thing. As such, Omi comes in, and thankfully he does manage to destroy the chameleon bot with one fell swoop, which everyone's thankful for, though Omi admits that he just kind of guessed that one, but whatever, the chameleon bot's down. Unfortunately, this victory is too little, too late. As when the dragons in training end up regaining their senses and go to check the vault, they find that almost all of the Shengung Wu are gone, with a little tiny Jack Spicer flying away with a bag full of Wu over his back. And as such, from there, the final part of the episode. Hold on one second. Sorry about that, hurt something. But either way, yeah. In the final part of the episode, we see the monks as they're going through the vaults, and they were able to put two and two together and realize that Jack probably took advantage of the fight and stole all the Wu. Thankfully for them, they do get at least one small victory. It turns out Jack missed one Shengung Wu, the Mantis flip coin, which isn't much, but it at least allows the good guys to have one Shengung Wu under their belt. Unfortunately, though, Jack still has all the other ones, and basically Wuya, who earlier in the episode was damning them for having damning Jack for only having the changing chopsticks, which can only shrink someone, immediately kind of eats humble pie and even admits that she was mistaken on the versatility of those things because, well, they just got a whole haul of Wu thanks to Jack using them effectively. As such, Jack and Wuya are reveling in this victory, but though Wuya admits that there's one Shengung Wu that she is especially happy that they got, the Helmet of Zhang, as when she goes over to it, she says that with this in hand, someone named Mala Mala Zhang will return, which confuses Jack, but Wuya just tells him to wait and that all good things, or in this case bad things, will come in time. And thus, that's where the episode ends. Sorry, I'm just going to adjust this a little. So, my thoughts on Chameleon. Now, the thing is, I remember when I was a kid and I saw this episode, I don't think I liked it very much. Nothing about the episode really stood out to me. Nothing really made me want to go back to it. Nothing really made me feel invested in it. It didn't really feel like one of the Xiaolin Showdown's best. And as an adult, I still don't really like it. Hold on one sec, sorry. Shindy came back in. But yeah, nothing about this episode really impresses me that much, even as an adult. It's just, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like that there's any major real conflict. And before you bring up, well, there is a real conflict. They have a spy in the Xiaolin Temple, which, yeah, that's a conflict, but the thing about that is, Omi is able to figure out that Kimiko has been replaced right from the get-go thanks to his tiger instincts. And the only reason that the chameleon bot isn't found out is because everybody else writes him off. Which, I don't know, I find that kind of dumb. I understand that the Xiaolin warriors are still in training and are still young, but you think that they would at least trust Omi and would at least concede to some of his experience, because the thing is, Omi is their senior in many regards. He is more skilled in all these things. He has mastered a plethora of Xiaolin techniques that have actually made him a bit superior to the other Xiaolin monks. Yes, they've also made him arrogant, but in that regard, it means that there are certain things that he is a lot more knowledgeable than them in, and in those regards, he should be trusted. So if he thinks that something is off about Kimiko, maybe, just maybe, they should investigate. Especially since when the chameleon bot is found out, even Raimundo was kicking himself for not seeing it, because even he said, she said nifty, I should have figured it out at that point. So, yeah, I don't really find the conflict to be that good. It doesn't really feel, it's a conflict that where the bad guys are using things to their advantage, but ultimately, it doesn't really. What causes the conflict to keep going is, in my opinion, poor writing. I don't like, again, I think it's just annoying that nobody takes Omi seriously, despite the fact that he himself, despite the fact that he himself has shown, like, very early in the episode, that his tiger instincts are very on point. So, in that regard, I find the conflict to not be that interesting, and on top of that, I'm just gonna say this right now, I don't really care for the chameleon bot. I felt like that I would like the chameleon bot, but nothing about the chameleon, but I feel like it's not utilized properly in the context of the episode. Now, okay, actually, I take that back. When you have something that has the ability to change its shape and works for the bad guys, it does work to have it kind of working behind the scenes and acting as subterfuge, going places that no one can think. And yeah, it can lead to some annoying hijinks at points, but it can lead to some also unease, because when you have think of it like the Thing. It's a shapeshifter that can take the form of anybody. And you have absolutely no idea who's the robot and who isn't. And I feel like that could work out well. And so having the robot come in and replace Kimiko is not a bad call. The problem, again, is that it doesn't feel like it's fully utilized. And this goes hand in hand back with the poor writing with the tiger instincts. I feel like a good conflict that we could have had with this episode was Omi potentially questioning himself on the basis on the validity of his tiger instincts. That early in the episode they were spot on, but then here's Kimiko and here's Kimiko. And so likewise, I feel like that could have been, and I feel like it could have worked too if we didn't see Kimiko get replaced with the chameleon bot. Maybe we didn't even learn about the chameleon bot till like later in the episode, and so we notice that something's going on with Kimiko, that something happened, when we could hint that something happened to her, but we never know what. And so ultimately, as Omi's tiger instincts are telling him something's wrong with Kimiko, it would actually lead to a good conflict as he starts doubting himself, and likewise by the end, when his tiger instincts are proven true, it can give a good lesson about essentially trusting your instincts. Just about trusting your instincts and wanting to go through even when you doubt yourself. I think that would have worked. And if that was the lesson for this episode, I'm sorry to say that with the execution, it wasn't really done well. And so as a result, the conflict doesn't really feel earned. And the lesson, if there is a lesson here, it's not done properly. On top of that, because the conflict feels so forced, it doesn't really feel like that anything is achieved in this episode. And honestly, it feels like things are mostly lost. Basically, the bad guys managed to get a very easy win in this episode. They manage to distract everyone with the chameleon bot, and basically the chameleon bot does exactly what it's supposed to. It opens up the Shengang Wu vault, and the bad guys just swoop in and steal anything they can grab, which as a result, puts the heroes in a severe handicap, as now all they have is just one Shengang Wu, while the bad guys have almost all of the Shengang Wu that came before. So as a result, it doesn't really feel, the conflict doesn't feel as strong, because, and again, it all comes back to the poor writing. Everybody was acting kind of stupid in this episode, and so as a result, I don't feel myself as invested in the story, because I'm just looking at this and thinking, this is dumb. They're just not, it doesn't feel as strong of a, it's just that it doesn't feel as strong in execution as with other episodes. In previous episodes, we did at least showcase things rather well. They actually did have some viable conflicts that did tie into what was going on. And it wasn't just a battle of good versus evil, it was literally just internal conflicts and how they were getting in the way of everything. We had Kimiko and how she had to master her focus. We had Raimundo and how he didn't really like to pay attention, and and then turned that on his head near the end. We have Clay and everyone doubting him and afraid that his style of fighting would be a handicap, but in reality, it allowed him to actually work. Hell, even in the first episode with Omi, we saw that his experience with the other monks taught him things that he wouldn't have been able to use before, which in turn helped him when he actually got into a Shaolin showdown with Jack at the end of the episode. So in that regard, it felt like there was something to be gained, and so there actually was more than just a battle of good versus evil. Whereas in this one, there wasn't really any character motivation involved in this. It just felt like it just felt like a simple problem comes up that everybody is too stupid to realize. And again, wouldn't have been so bad if the writing just was better. So in that regard, I do find that a little dumb. And since that was the central core of the episode, it didn't really feel as strong. And if I could give another bit of crap to this episode, I do not know who the central character is for this episode. Usually the episodes so far have had one character who has usually been at the center of everything. The first episode was Omi, then we had Clay, then Kimiko, then Raimundo, then Omi, and for this one, I don't really know who the central character is supposed to be. Is it Kimiko? I don't know. No, she doesn't really learn anything. Is it Omi? Again, nothing was really challenged with him with his tiger instincts. He knew they were right, and he pursued them till the end, even though everyone told him not to, so it doesn't really feel as grand. So it just feels it feels more like that things occurred in this episode without really any major conflicts that could get in the way, or any major conflicts that can get in the way. Sorry, I'm rambling more. It's just, by the end of everything, it just didn't really feel like a lot was accomplished. Actually, I take that back. In terms of plot progression, a lot was accomplished. The bad guys, like I said, got a very good big win in this episode. The Chameleon Bot was able to steal all the Shengang Wu, or at the very least provided the opportunity for Jack to steal them, and the bad guy and the good guys are now going in with severe handicap, as now Jack has most of the Shengang Wu haul, while they only have one. So in that regard, I will at least say that that actually is a nice turn for the plot. And it does actually, and I do like that because it shows that the good guys don't always win in the end. Sometimes the bad guys can be smart and do net a win. And this is a very big one. Jack was able to execute a plan without any issues. He stole all the Shengang Wu, and by the end of the episode, the good guys are hurting, though not out for the count. So, in that regard, that is a big plot progression. And something that I'll also state, I kind of like that Jack's being competent with his Shengang Wu. He's just as boisterous in this episode as he was in previous episodes, but in his defense, he actually was acting smart this time around. Despite the fact that the only viable Shengang Wu he had at the time was the changing chopsticks, which, kind of go on a tangent here, there was a bit of a continuity issue in this episode where everyone, and I do mean everyone, kept saying that Jack and Wuya only had one Shengang Wu, the changing chopsticks, when by my count, he should have two, the changing chopsticks and the Jetbutsu. But everyone just seemed to forget that in this episode. Don't know why. But anyway, like I said, when Jack's use of despite the fact that the changing chopsticks were the only usable Shengang Wu that Jack had that gave him other abilities beyond flying, he actually at least used them effectively. He used the changing chopsticks to get inside the chameleon bot while he was building it and actually wire it himself. He was able to use the changing chopsticks to sneak into the vault while all the fighting was going on, and then likewise use them to sneak back out, which shows how effective these things can be if you plan properly, which I give credit. I like that. It's pretty cool. Also, again, I should probably bring it up again, the helmet of Zhang. Like I said, no strong opinions on it. No one ever uses it at any point in the series, and it's mostly just there to act as an evil helmet. So, to that. And likewise, and so, I don't know. If I had to, I'm not going to claim the episode's like I'm not going to claim the episode is garbage, as it's not like awful. It's not like god awful. It's not like unbearable to watch. The action is still pretty nice. The voice acting is still pretty good. It's got some good humor, especially when Raimundo tries to pull a fast one on Omi halfway through the episode as revenge for losing the battle, only for Omi to keep trumping him at every single point. But in that regard, ultimately, for me, the major problem with the episode is that the conflict felt forced and only worked due to poor writing on the hero's part. There was no real internal conflict that I think really worked. If there was a moral in the episode, I don't think it was executed well. And at the end of the day, I just didn't find myself enjoying this episode. It just felt like events occurred, and the only without any real issues. The villains got a win very easily, with the heroes barely paying attention to it. In which, again, that's another big problem. There was really no clashing, because usually a story is progressed by actually having the two sides clash, and in this case, the villains just got a very easy win. So again, on that regard, I'll compliment the episode for the things that it does right. Like, it does, like, the plot progression with Jack and Wuya stealing on the Shengang Wu is a very big deal that I do kind of like, especially with what it showcases. There are still some good humor in the action. It's still nice. And on top of that, it also lays down the groundwork for future plot threads with Wuya mentioning Mala Mala Zhang. On the whole, I still don't think I care for this episode. It's not awful. It's not like an awful episode. It's not unwatchable, but I still don't care for it I still don't care for it even as an adult. It's just, not that good. It's just not that good of an episode. So, yeah, that's really all I have to say. Apologies if you really like the episode. If you really like it, more power to you. I hope you continue liking it. But for me personally, just not a fan. So, yeah, that's really all I have to say. I thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and, well, tune in next week as we actually get the introduction of one of my favorite Shengang Wu in the series. So, till then, I hope you have a good day, and take care.